So during the last month of 2024, I sat down to figure out the biggest problem that are holding service-based businesses back, which is creating an attractive offer. Because here's the thing, you can have the best service in the entire world, you can have the happiest clients, and you can generate the best results for your customers as well. But if you do not know how to put an attractive offer in front of new people that you're talking to, none of these things really matters in the end. And I know this problem firsthand because when I started selling online services, this was the exact problem that I ran into myself. And I was getting real results from my clients and making them a lot of money in the process. But I hit this plateau where I could barely even scale my own online services because I couldn't package my offer in a way that would make people see the value fast enough to say yes. And that's exactly when I realized that if I could just fix this one issue of getting people in front of an attractive offer, well, then I would scale exponentially with my services. So at the beginning of 2025, I decided to show my good friend Jørn exactly how to restructure his offer so that it would instantly make sense to the marketplace and more people would ultimately find his offer more attractive. And in just 1.5 months from him starting selling this new offer, he went from absolutely $0 to shy $10,000 in monthly recurring revenue with his own company. So in this video, I'll be breaking down the exact shift that changed everything for Jørn. I'm going to show you exactly how we repositioned his entire offer to make it a no-brainer and make it what I call a might as well offer. And lastly, I'll be showing you exactly how you can do the same thing for yourself and scale your service-based business. So with that being said, let's dive into it. So in the beginning of 2025, Jørn was at a point where he was making $0 with his company, and he was actually stuck in this point for almost 2 years prior to this, whether that would be in a closer role, a setter role, or trying to start a marketing agency. He was stuck for almost 2 years up until this point where he's at right now. Basically, what Jørn is doing is running a traditional lead generation agency, meaning that Jørn is actually helping other B2B companies get more sales calls for their companies, primarily through cold email. But the problem with this service is that typically you'll see people have these expensive softwares and use multiple different platforms to actually fulfill on this service for their client. And that becomes a huge problem for somebody like Jørn selling this specific service because the softwares that he's using is incredibly expensive. And for every single client that Jørn is onboarding, well, then he'll have to pay for a new workspace, meaning that a new client brings new cost. And that's obvious, of course, but if you scale this to a point and you're competing with the marketplace itself, you're just sitting in a point where you can either just have these costs and be okay with it, or you'll be competing with people on prices and you'll have to reduce your prices. And by reducing your prices, you're going to be competing with people, and you're also going to put yourself at a point where you reduce your profit margins over and over again, meaning that more software cost is going to lead to you being less profitable. And Jørn wasn't selling anything special at any point with this service. It was primarily just the same thing as everybody else in the marketplace was offering. So that means that he was in a market where he was just another player trying to compete with other players in the same market at the same price points and with the same softwares that everybody else was using, which made it incredibly hard for Jørn to even scale and stay profitable with his company in the first place. But then there was this specific shift that changed everything about Jørn's company, and I brainstormed a bit with Jørn and I made him think twice, because I would sit down with Jørn and I would spark an interesting question asking him who is actually winning in this space. Because clearly it's not the agencies, because those people, there's way too many of selling the same thing that Jørn was selling prior to this. It's obviously the cold email software companies that are winning in this specific space that Jørn was also sitting in the same space of. Because these people aren't just selling services, they are selling subscriptions. And the issue about that is that Jørn was just a client of these tools, similar to what his clients were. And the problem with this was that Jørn was just renting their software and reselling it to his own clients at a small markup. So it would only be a matter of time until Jørn's client would come and knock on the door and ask Jørn, well, why are we even paying you thousands of dollars every single month for something that we could literally just go out and pay a couple $100 for ourselves? And this was the exact thing that sparked something in Jørn, and that's where I told him to start sell this new offer that we talked about. And that's exactly where we started to restructure his entire offer together. So this is exactly where we started to sell what I call a software deployment service. And instead of just reselling cold email services, I got Jørn in on this new offer where the key difference in this offer is that we stopped paying for new client workspaces, because the client workspaces for every single new customer that we would bring on would be the one thing that actually broke our profit margins the most. So we stopped doing that. And then we moved over to using SendSwift.ai for Jørn in particular, and that allowed him to actually get unlimited client workspaces at no additional cost, meaning that every time that Jørn would bring on a new customer, he would not have to pay another fee for taking on this customer. So that helped him a tremendous amount for basically increasing his profits. And the reason why this is so special is because the other tools in the market charge for every single one of these clients that Jørn would normally bring on. And as I said, this basically destroys the profitability and forces agencies like Jørn to raise their prices on offer, similarly to the one that Jørn would be selling. The result of this was, as I mentioned, Jørn basically skyrocketed his profit margins completely. He had a more attractive offer because he could go out and reduce or increase or do whatever it is that he wanted to do with his prices, or restructure it in a way that could be more attractive to the marketplace. And he could offer more bonuses and still be more profitable than the other agencies that he was competing with. And that is the single core feature about this thing. We are making a more attractive offer. That's exactly what Jørn did, and that is the exact foundation about this entire video in itself. And basically what this resulted is that Jørn is inches away from hitting that $10,000 a month mark right now. He onboarded 9 clients in this 1.5 month period. And now he's looking to scale up even further than that. So if we scroll down a bit, we can see the numbers that Jørn had for his campaigns actually getting these clients on board. So he did 3 types of different outbound prospecting methods. And the first one was cold calling. So he called up 82 different people, and from these 82 different people that he called up, he managed to book 18 people on a sales call with him. He of course also launched cold email campaigns, and he sent out a whopping 452 emails, and from that he managed to book himself 5 calls. And then lastly, he also started a LinkedIn campaign where he sent shy of 76 messages and got 11 calls booked from that in itself. So these metrics are incredibly good if you look at it from the standpoint of reaching out to completely cold people with a brand new offer that he hasn't been testing out prior to this. So really good stats here. But the funny thing about this is that it's not really the 10K a month milestone that is the most important part here, at least not for me, or the reason why I'm mentioning this. What really matters to me, at least here, is how fast Jørn actually managed to do this, and even better, how fast he managed to actually get a full-time income with doing something that he actually enjoys doing. And that is the core thing that actually matters here, because the truth is that most people are actually, believe it or not, but most people are trying to get by, and they want to make a good living while having the freedom to work on something that they genuinely care about. And that is exactly what we tried to do with Jørn here. So even if this number was saying $5,000 a month, $7,000 a month, $10,000 a month, or $15,000 a month, don't get me wrong, it's a lot of money, but it is not really the amount that matters that much. It's the true fact that Jørn is actually able to do whatever it is that he wants now. And he can work with something that he genuinely cares about and he actually enjoys doing. And that is at least what I am super excited about from what Jørn achieved to do here in the first month of the new year. So if we take a deeper look at how this software deployment service are actually working, well, it basically works in a way where you are looking at, instead of selling one big service, let's take the example of cold email, and making a really expensive price point to that service, well then Jørn introduced an entry-level subscription offer similar to the software companies that I talked about prior to this, and basically started to sell a lead magnet, you could call it, to nurture people in and actually show them what type of services that Jørn was delivering in the first place. And from there, eventually, Jørn can also pass on the clients to some of his team members that can take care of them on a higher ticket deal, meaning that he'll increase the lifetime value of each client that he's also bringing on. So to sum that up, basically what he's doing is that he's taking people on for a low ticket subscription model, and then he nurtures them through, show them what type of results that he can actually generate with the service, and eventually he's going to upsell them on a higher ticket deal. And as I mentioned before, the challenges about doing the traditional setup that Jørn had was that it was impossible to be profitable with it. Now, the solution was what I described before, is that we are going to be using the unlimited workspaces through SendSwift.ai. So the way that Jørn is actually structuring his new offer is that he's pricing himself with this lead magnet offer, the low ticket subscription model that he had, at a whopping $597 a month for everything that you would ever need to actually get going with cold outbound. And this basically means that every time that Jørn would bring on a new customer for this offer, he would be giving them a SendSwift.ai cold email sending platform subscription, because that is included in Jørn's own subscription, so he doesn't have to pay extra for it. So he can just add unlimited clients under the same thing. He will be giving each lead 10,000 verified leads in their target market. And then he'll be giving them 10 email domains, because both the lead database and the email account is something that is inside of SendSwift as well. So you have everything that you really need to actually be able to run the system. So you don't have to go to all kinds of different platforms to actually be able to get the required tools to run your outbound prospecting. And as mentioned, you're also going to get the Google email accounts, the US-based Google email accounts. He's going to give 20 email accounts to each client that he brings on. And then the good thing about this, now we've already covered pretty much everything that the client would need to have a well-proven outbound system that is working for them, that they can send cold emails from. But the good thing about this is that Jørn is also adding done-for-you email campaigns monthly. So he's actually also going in and setting up campaigns for the client every single month. Meanwhile, the client can still manage their own campaigns on the side. So you see it as they're getting basically the entire system that they would need alongside a couple bonuses, so they can ensure the success of the campaigns as well. So this means that alongside everything that they also get Jørn that are setting up campaigns and Jørn that are even consulting them bi-weekly every single month on exactly how they can optimize their own campaign. So they get everything that they need alongside a lot of good bonuses as well inside of this setup. And now the good thing is that we are left over with profit margins around 75%. And this is where we are super different from the other platforms, because you actually get to keep majority of your profits. And this is the thing that I keep mentioning in this video. But if you were to do this on other platforms, you simply wouldn't be able to do it, because the other platforms are charging you ridiculous prices for every single feature that you're using on the platform, whether that would be a lead database, email accounts that you would be getting, the actual sending platform itself, and the fees for adding new clients into that, whereas SendSwift has reduced costs significantly, so all people can actually be able to run cold outbound. So why is this specific thing working so well? You see, the companies that you see on the B2B marketplace are already paying for these services in the first place, just from multiple different providers. So if they want to get domains, well, then they would be normally going to GoDaddy. If they would get email accounts, they would normally go to Google directly and pay upwards $7 per month per account. If they need leads, they would go to something like Apollo. And if they need to verify these leads, they would go to something like Million Verifier. And if they want to send emails automatically, well, then they would probably go to something like Instantly, for example, as an example of one of those tools that are on the marketplace. So this is the downside. They get to work with all kinds of different platforms at the same time, and they get hundreds of different invoices from different platforms. So it becomes a very tricky operation, very hard for the clients to keep track of what they're actually paying for, what they're getting, if they're paying a lot, if they're paying too little, whatever it might be. Now with Jørn instead, and the good thing about this is that Jørn is actually the provider of all these services. So he is using the one service. You could almost see it as like a white labeled service, which is called a software deployment service. So they get everything inside of this one package that Jørn is selling for nearly the same price as what they would be paying regardless, but with more value. So all these cold email software companies are booming. And as I said, people will basically still buy them regardless of the situation. They'll still buy the subscriptions. But now, instead of competing with these companies, Jørn basically just positioned himself to be a better alternative. So as I mentioned in the very beginning of this offer, you almost create this "you might as well do it" offer. So you compete with software companies that are selling these subscriptions regardless of the situation. And this is exactly how Jørn went from $0 to nearly $10,000 a month in just over a month. Now, this was a very short breakdown of how this offer works. We are in the process of scaling up Jørn's operations right now. So going from that initial $0 to $10,000 a month mark with this software deployment service is one step of the way. And now what Jørn is actually doing is that he's also hiring more team members so they can take care of the fulfillment for this specific setup, so that he can actually get the capital that he needs to go out and find very skilled people that he can bring on to actually sell his higher ticket services. And that way, basically taking himself from that 10K a month mark up to 25K a month, 30K a month, 40K a month. So this is the next thing on the agenda. This is a very short video. I just wanted to share this opportunity. I'm going to be making videos and documenting other people that I'm helping with this to show you guys how you can get this offer set up yourself. So that was the breakdown of exactly how Jørn went from zero to almost $10,000 a month in nearly a month of starting this specific offer. And this software deployment service is not just a great offer. It's also a really, really powerful lead magnet that you can use to attract people through so that you can eventually upsell them on your higher ticket services. Because by giving these people a small taste what it is like working with somebody like Jørn, well then naturally these people are also going to qualify themselves and become better candidates for the other offers that you have to sell. And that's where the real money starts to come in, because at this point Jørn is not going to charge $597 a month anymore. He's going to increase his prices to upwards $5,000 a month, $6,000 a month, $7,000 a month in some cases per client that he's working with. And because these clients already have trust in Jørn from what he can do and what type of service that he's selling, the conversions on the higher ticket services are going to skyrocket completely. So if you want to learn more about how Jørn is selling software deployment services, feel free to send me a message on Instagram. I'm happy to share any of the information that you might be wondering about. So as mentioned, this was an incredibly short video. I just wanted to share this opportunity. And in the future, I'm going to be breaking down exactly how you can take it from the point where you have gotten clients for your software deployment offer to the point where you actually scale it and hire team members to manage it for you. And that way scale you even further to a point where you're making $25,000, $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 a month with a lead generation service like this. So with that being said, if you learned anything from this video, or if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me on Instagram and drop me a like on this video or subscribe, and I would greatly appreciate it. Till then, I'll see you next time.